Welcome to Let's Make a Platformer, episode 43. This is the first official refactoring Saturday, and today I'd like to work a bit on the rendering and hopefully by the end of this episode have a really cool effect to show you. So between the episodes I've done some refactoring on the gaming package here, in the rendering pipeline, and to adapt the new rendering I have to do just two small changes here. So all the renderers that we have, so the platform renderer, maybe I'll just rename it while we're at it. Let's call it block renderer, because it renders the blocks which are static mesh that is created. And we have model renderer, which just renders all the other stuff that is dynamic. So the change that is needed here is that whenever I want to render something, so in the render terrain here, maybe render blocks, and we'll name this blocks since we are on rendering. Okay, so in the rendering I have to specify where I want to render it at the moment. So I'm just saying I'm rendering to whatever is the current buffer. You can imagine that, well, you can imagine it. So what this allows me to do is to provide some custom rendering. For example, first render something to off-screen buffer, and then render it back into the pipeline, to wherever the pipeline tells me to. But by default behavior is going to be just saying, okay, I want to render whatever the current buffer is, the pipeline holds, and then when I finish rendering, I just say I'm finished. And the same thing is in the model rendering. We have begin and end on the current buffer. And if you take a look at the running application, it behaves exactly the same way. So there is no lesson functionality here. Everything's working just fine. Okay, so what I'd like to do today, first thing I'd like to modify the rendering entity provider interface to no longer have these two methods. Instead, I'll be getting this information, both the camera and the environment, using an event. So the renderer will be firing an event on this entity, and the event should provide me with a camera. So let's start off with deleting these. And instead, the entity provider so for the platformer, I will have a let's do here. I'd like to make this component based. So first of all, I'll add a new component. Let's in rendering. Let's do here camera, and I will have focus based camera component. So basically this is going to be the same behavior we had before for the main renderer for the platformer, where we are getting through all the entities that have focus and calculating the position of the camera. But instead of having all of this set in as a static values here, I'll have them in the components. So in here I'll have int get distance from maybe get z, was effectively that's what it is, and int get distance y. So y from objects, and so it's going to be a float. I just want to keep the same way here. Float get distance y. Okay. So we'll have this thing, and we'll have focus based camera system. I'll register it. We need it only in the gameplay profiles. So game screen and gameplay. And I'll create a new. So in the rendering, in the gaming, this is the first time actually on screen I'll be doing anything here. I'll have a new package here as well. It's going to be called camera. No, maybe not package, just a new event, get camera. Yeah, get camera is a good name for an event. And I will have here getter and setter for camera. Okay, so the focus-based camera system will be receiving the event. And then on an entity that has the focus-based camera component. And in here, I will copy the whole code for this method. And I'll also have to have these two indexes. I will need this one. So entity index manager, and in initialize I'll have to make sure that I have all these indexes. So let me get the text of those back first before I delete them. Okay. Camera above objects is now a value of the camera above translate y distance y. It's a float. We don't need camera light here being set up. It's going to be separate. And in here we'll have camera setup. $75. And let's go with 0, for the time being. And in here, maybe the get camera event will have width and height. And camera width and height is float or integer? It's floats. Okay, so float. Okay, so the camera here will be updating the viewport width, get camera width, viewport height, camera get height, and we have camera distance y, and we have distance from terrain. So focus-based camera get distance, no, get z. Okay, and get camera, set camera. Okay, so we have camera now. So now I have to make this guy no longer have this method. Let's go for no environment, so there'll be no lighting. I'm gonna fix the lighting in a moment. As you can see, we don't no longer need this. We need these two. Okay, and now I have to modify the rendering entity to have the focus-based camera component with two values, z and distance y. What was the value? What were the values? 8 and 2. 8 and 2, z and distance y. Z was 8, distance y was 2. Okay, and now in the renderer, rather than getting camera, because now it's not going to work anymore, let me fix one more thing here in the system for camera. Where is it? Here. I have to make sure that the camera is updated. Okay, and this guy will no longer be setting up camera. Instead, it will no longer even store the camera. We no longer need to update the camera. So instead, on the rendering entity, I will send an event, get camera, passing the width and height. It's going to be the width and height of the screen, which I can replace here as well. So once I have the camera, I can pass it there. Environment, let's say for the time being, is going to be null. And render to screen is camera. Okay, so now the camera is actually decoupled from the rendering entity, and the rendering entity, based on the component it has, what type of camera it has. This one's, for example, focus based. We can imagine having different ones, and I'm actually planning to add a different one. We can have different rendering passes. Okay, so editor rendering entity. For example, the editor will have a different camera type. That's why in here we have rendering entity. We should also probably have editor rendering entity. And it's gonna be navigable camera component. So basically means that the keys, left, right, and so on, or arrows, will basically modify the camera. So in the editor rendering entity provider, we no longer have these. Instead, we will have a new system. So first of all, I have to create a component for it. Package camera. And the name of it is navigable camera component. And let me copy this code quickly, just so I need it, because I need it. I will have here navigable camera system. Profiles, game screen and editor. And when we receive event, get camera. On an entity that has the navigable camera component, we return the following. So camera perspective camera 7500. In the same way, I'll update it. Get camera, set camera, viewport width. No, not camera. Camera viewport width is camera get width. Camera viewport height is get camera get height. We don't need the light. Let me for now just hard code these, because I'll be modifying this anyway later on anyway. And I need to update the camera. Okay. So that is the beginning. This is the menu camera. Okay, so I have menu rendering entity. I have to modify it and add a new component to it. Fixed camera component. And I'll have X, Y, and Z. So this is gonna go into the menu. Camera, new fixed camera component, extends component. Float get X, float get Y, float get Z. Okay. Fixed camera system. Register system. Profiles. I think it's called menu. Yes. Receive event. Get camera. Fixed camera component. We'll have this. We need a camera here. Same way. I have to update the camera. I have to set the viewports. Viewport width, get camera width. And we'll have fixed camera get X, fixed camera get Y, fixed camera get Z. Probably lookups should be changed as well, and up and so on. But for now, I just want to make it all work the way it was working before. So let's see now. Okay, something has failed. Let me try to figure it out. Okay, so the problem is I wasn't setting the camera here. I think the same is for the, so I'm setting it here, but for the editor, I'm not as well. So set camera, okay. And again. Okay, so this works. Game works. As you can see, the lights are missing. That's because I haven't changed that yet. Okay, everything is looking fine. The camera moves fine. Okay, so now let's do work on the light. So similarly to the get camera, we'll have get environment, event, and so what we're gonna do here, I will be passing the camera. As you can remember from the game, we place a light just above the camera, so I have to be able to do the same here. No, not setter, constructor. I need a getter and setter for environment. And I need a getter for the camera. Okay, so similarly here, we are passing environment null here. Instead, we'll be doing get environment. Passing the camera and sending it to the entity. And finally extracting it from the event and passing it wherever we need to pass environment. Okay, so editor at the moment will not have any camera nor any environment. We haven't got that far yet in the working on the editor. So instead here in the gameplay, in the rendering, I'll have package environment. And platformer environment component, which is going to be a marker class for anything that has the supposed to render the provide the environment based on the platformer platforms, the level. So you pass it here. And if I take a look now on the rendering entity here, there was a static value here. Okay, so this I need. Let me copy the whole class as it was before. So this part. Maybe I just this part. So I will have here a platformer environment system. So now I'm basically decoupling everything so that we have complete control over what is rendered, how, using what camera, what environment, and so on. So I want this in game screen and gameplay. Probably will be used in editor as well later, but for now let's just go with this. And we need like distance. So important things, I will definitely need these lines. I will need an environment, camera light, point lights. I will not need these. I will not need this or these. I will not need the initial. I will need the initialize because I need to add the camera light to it. So I need to implement lifecycle system. I do not need this. I do need these. I need this. I need to update the camera. And instead of get environment, I will be responding to an event. Receive event get environment. On an entity that has the platformer environment component. So in here, I'll be updating camera light and setting the environment to environment. Okay, so in here, we need to get the camera. And have a position of the camera, get position X, camera position Y, plus the light distance, and camera position Z. Okay, let me double check we have the component here. Yes. Okay, let me run this and see if everything is working okay the way it's supposed to. Okay, so now we have lights back, including the light in here in the scene. Okay, I guess that took much longer than I was anticipating, so I guess I'll have to do the awesome feature I was planning to some other time. That's it for this episode. Make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter, link in the description. Thanks for watching. Bye.